Max Verstappen produced a stunning comeback drive from 10th on the grid to win the Hungarian Grand Prix and extend his title lead over Charles Leclerc following another miserable Sunday for the Ferrari driver. In a captivating race where three teams were in contention for the win, Verstappen fought back from his reliability hampered qualifying with stonking pace and superior Red Bull strategy and won by 7 seconds from Lewis Hamilton and pole sitter George Russell as Mercedes celebrated another double podium and Ferrari's avoidable absence. Leclerc was the victim of more questionable pitch calls from Ferrari, and he would eventually finish a mere 6, meaning Verstappen has an 80-point lead heading into the summer break. It was another win that slipped through Leclerc's fingers. The Monegasque started third, and after overcutting teammate Sainz, ended Russell's credible resistance for a lead on lap 31, at which stage he appeared primed to bounce back from his poor car crash to take a championship-boosting win. But trying to respond to Verstappen's pace, Ferrari pitted Leclerc onto the hard tyre and left him a sitting duck to the Red Bull and indeed others. Verstappen would pass Leclerc twice before and after a nervy spin in slippery conditions to essentially seal his victory with 25 laps remaining. Leclerc called his strategy a disaster and wouldn't stop again to finish behind Sergio Perez, who was the only Red Bull, Mercedes or Ferrari driver not to hold the lead at some stage. Sainz was fourth, as like Russell, he was overtaken by Hamilton in the closing stages. The 7-time world champion flew on soft tyres. Lando Norris couldn't hold his starting position of fourth, but did well to hold off the Alpines for 7th, while McLaren teammate Daniel Ricciardo was a disappointing 15th after picking up a penalty for a crash with Lance Stroll. 3 places lost for Leclerc, 9 places gained for Verstappen, and an 80-point title lead. The Hungarian Grand Prix delivered another huge swing in championship momentum and potentially a defining one. Despite drizzle just before lights out, Verstappen made a strong start from 10th up to 7th on the first lap, and once it clear air, he was matching the pace of the leading cars, Russell, Sainz and Leclerc. He easily dispatched the Alpines and undercut Lewis Hamilton, but Leclerc too had storming pace, once getting ahead of Sainz and produced the overtake of the day to edge around the outside of Russell's Mercedes at turn 1 just before the halfway stage. He then opened up a 5-second lead. Verstappen's second stop, however, appeared to frighten Ferrari and rather respond with their second car of Sainz. They stopped Leclerc. However, having only used mediums tyres so far and with only 20 laps remaining, the hard tyres, which were by far the slowest available on Sunday, were put on, and Verstappen on the mediums was quickly in firing range. The world champ passed Leclerc with DRS on lap 41 before giving the place back the following lap with a spin at turn 13, which nearly opened the door to Russell. Instead, Verstappen regained composure and got him back ahead of Leclerc on lap 45. That put him into a net lead, and once Hamilton had his final stop, all Verstappen had to do was manage the pace, and even a light shower in the closing stages couldn't rain on his parade. As for Ferrari and Leclerc, the team said they were surprised by a lack of pace they had, while Leclerc called the strategy a disaster. Either way, you pit again for the softs and drop back to 6th. We'll speak about it inside the team, said Leclerc, with Ferrari facing yet another inquest. Just as Red Bull benefited from Ferrari's struggle, so did Mercedes, who once again impressed on race day. Russell started on softs and battled well from pole, with Mercedes constantly responding to Ferrari and Verstappen's strategy, while Hamilton played the long game, ending his stint with a furious stint on the softs. This saw him expertly pass both Sainz and his teammate late on. And yeah, now the sport embarks on a 4-week summer break where there's some teams that need to do a lot of work. I'm thinking about you, Ferrari, and some teams may be slightly happier. I'm thinking about you, Red Bull. And yeah, F1 returns in 4 weeks with the Belgian Grand Prix, and that kickstarts the triple header of Belgium, Zandvoort and Monza. And before I go, let me run you through the final classification from the Hungarian Grand Prix. And Max Verstappen obviously coming out on top from 10th on the grid, even with a spin. I mean, it just shows how well he's driving at the moment. Obviously, he needs the cars to it, but yeah, he's driving really, really well at the moment. Taking advantage of Ferrari's errors with Hamilton in second as well. Another brilliant drive from him in 7th to second. I think this race kind of proves, even though some people may have doubted it this season, that those two are still definitely the ones to beat on the grid. Russell in third. I think to finish behind Hamilton will be slightly frustrating for him, but from pole he still had a very solid weekend. Sainz in fourth. Just didn't have the same pace that Hamilton did on the softs at the end. I really thought he would have got on the podium, but in the end it wasn't to be, with Perez in fifth, who just hasn't really had the pace all weekend really, so I think he will be disappointed with that really. Only ahead of Leclerc really because of Ferrari's strategy, and I just don't know what to say. You've got to feel so bad for Leclerc at this point. It seems like something every week that he's getting let down by, and yeah, I think it's title over now. Norris in 7th, really good job from him, coming out on top of the midfield again as well, so he'll be happy with that. Alonso in 8th, Ocon in 9th, so yeah, there's a bit of funny business going on between the Alpine drivers, but they've got across the line for some solid points, so hopefully all to resolve. Vettel in 10th, great result from him, getting points points now. Aston Martin's no mean feat, with Stroll in 11th, so leading down a bit of the pace this weekend. Gasly in 12th, I've kind of criticised him a lot recently, but a solid drive from him. Pit lane to 12th, he'll be happy with that with only one retirement. Joe in 13th. Yeah, I mean, like Alfa Romeo with Bottas retiring as well, but I didn't think he was going to get points either. So yeah, just a poor weekend for them, just didn't have the pace. Schumacher in 14th, Magnussen 16th, bit of a nothing weekend for Haas really. Maybe those upgrades didn't work as intended, especially with Schumacher coming out of Magnussen with the old car. And then you've got Ricciardo in 15th, I mean, like he pulled off that lovely double move on the Alpines, but then just went missing. So yeah, I don't know what happened in the last stint, but that'd be disappointing for him. And then you've got the two Williams down the bottom as usual, and then Tsunoda as well, obviously with that spin, and yeah, not a great race from him, you have to say. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, let us know what's comments down below, follow and subscribe for daily F1 days, and subscribe to my channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.